What's up, guys? This is building a stock market tracker with react.js part 6. In this video, I decided that I want to go ahead and try to hook up the actual change in price over here on this side. Right now, these are obviously hard-coded numbers, so we want to replace that with the actual real numbers. So let's go over here to our stock.row.js and look at how we might want to go about doing that. So right now we're calling stock.latest price and then passing in this.applied data as a callback. So let me see if I can get my screen to lay out a little bit better there. I want that to pop like that. So what I'm thinking about doing, so essentially what we need to do is we're going to grab the latest price, then we're going to apply that data to the state. And that's fine. What I'm trying to think about is we actually want to, we're going to need to go and get the previous day's data after we get the data here. So asking for the latest price here is going to have with it the date that the data is for. So once we go get this, then we can go and say, okay, I know what day this is for. Go get me the previous day. At least that's how I'm formulating this right now. As I've said a few times throughout this series, I'm really working this out as I go so you can kind of see my process. And hopefully that's helpful. But yeah, we may change this later. But for now, what I'm thinking about doing is going and getting the data, and then after we've updated the state with that, go get the price. So in theory, what should happen is Apple pops in, tells you it's 273.19, and then the percent change pops in after the fact. Something like that. We'll see what we can work out, but let's try that. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do over here is go ahead and open my developer tools, and I'm going to pop this down on the bottom. And I don't need to see all of this, actually. Oh, well, whatever. I'm just going to clear this. Okay, so now we can see what is happening in the console pretty easily. And I'm just going to console.log the data for the moment. Okay, so now we see what we got in here. We have price, date, and time. Okay, so I'm going to keep this pretty simple for the moment. But what I'm going to do here is, instead of just putting in these hard-coded things, I'm going to pretend like I have some data. I'm going to say this dot state dot data dot dollar change. So it's like the amount of change that happened in the dollar value. So like that's what that is. And then I'm going to do percent change. And this won't be perfect. Trying to talk and type, and I'm spelling the same words. So this is basically just going to give us blanks for the moment. So what we can do here is we could actually start by saying dollar change up here and saying 0, and then percent change saying 0 to start, and see these things print out zeros. But as you can see, what happened is it just vanished because we're overwriting all of the data here. So that's actually an interesting dilemma. So I have to think about that for a second. So what's interesting here, and I don't know, like again, I'm still kind of learning my way around, and I'm less familiar with JavaScript even than I am Ruby, but this makes me think about the law of Demeter, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in object-oriented sort of patterns, or I don't know what the correct categorization of that is, but to boil it down for you, in Ruby, like this right here, you would, first of all, this dot state is sort of baked into the cake, right? So you have no real control over that, but the law of Demeter would basically say that you only want to have one dot after that. So you would say like this dot state dot something, but you don't want to see like dot beyond that. And I don't know if this is an exact good example of that, but typically whenever you see dot, 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 dot in these methods where you're just chaining stuff together, people might call that like a train wreck. Because if something breaks in the middle, you get breakages down at the end, sort of in an unintended way. I'm not explaining that very well, and it's a little bit late, so I apologize, but we can solve that problem by actually pushing everything up into the state instead of just kind of lazily delegating everything to data. So basically what we've got is price. We've got, what else do we want to have in here? I know that's basically all we're using there. So price, data, not data, price, date, time, and then we want these guys. And then on each of these, I guess we can just set them to null. Is that the right approach here? I don't even know if we necessarily need to do this, frankly. But let's see what happens there. So if I save it, I'm probably going to get some errors over here. Yeah, exactly. So down here, I don't want to be calling data. I just want to call it straight on the object. Okay, so there we go. Now what we have to do is fix this set state business. So we don't want to say data is that. We want to say, well, we want to get these three. And we want to say data.price, data.date, data.time. Okay, so now that's working again. So let's see what happens if we throw this in here as a dollar change. Do we just get a green 0? Yep, okay. So the reason it was important to do all of that is because what we're going to have to do is be able to update the state independently. So right here what we were doing was set state, and then we were passing in data and just setting all of the data, is that whenever we updated something, we were washing everything else out. And we don't want to do that. We just want to change the properties that we care about. Okay, so let's think about how we should do this now. So what we could do is, what we want to basically do is get the latest price, but from the day before. And if we open up stock, this URL thing, we can pass in a date in here. And I'll have to look up what it's called. I believe it's exact date, and I think it's YYYYMMDD format, if I'm not mistaken. We'll just try it and see what happens. Actually, what we could do as an experiment is we could just say exact date equals, so what's today's date? Today should be 2020-04-13. Okay, so let's save that and see if we get the same numbers. Oh, wait, what? Expected Y in JSON. Let me see. Let me just make sure I didn't do anything crazy here. Save that and see if it still works. Okay, so that works. So let me check on, let me actually put it at the end instead of at the beginning, and just to double check. Exact date equals, let me save it with nil in there. Cannot read property close of undefined. Cannot read property close of undefined. 2020-04-01. Let's save that and see what happens. Okay, so we get back the 04-01. So what's today's date again? The 13th? So why didn't it like the 13th? Did I do something wrong there? No. I must have done something wrong earlier. Okay, well, sorry about that. So that's giving us today's. Let me just remove that to be like extra sure. 273.19. Okay. So what does this mean? How can we do this? Well, yesterday we had an issue because we could not manage to get the stuff from today. And now all of this is, or from the current day, rather. Now all of this is working. So I'm curious as to what the heck is going on. Well, yesterday would have been the weekend. I think we were actually doing this on Friday during the trading day. So I don't know what the heck is up with that. Maybe that was a me problem. Maybe that was an API problem. The reason I'm hesitating here is because I don't want to pass in an exact day unless we have to, or unless we have one, if that makes sense. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of just thinking through this. You know what? Let's back this out. We know what to do now. I'm gonna just like cut this out and paste it somewhere so we have it handy. Comment it right there. Maybe. Okay. So let me think about how to do this. Okay, so let's go back over here to our stock row. And let's look at what we actually want to do here. So, and again, we may change this later. So applied data is being called in a callback here. So we're within a callback, so we know that our data has already been set, right? So let's pretend, again, we don't have this written yet. This is the top-down thing. So stock dot get yesterday's close. And then what we want to do is pass in this dot props dot ticker. We're going to want to pass in data dot date. And let's leave it there for now. Now this is going to explode if we save it. Let's go ahead and do it just for fun. Okay, so now we need to go over there and define this function. It's actually pretty hard to read some of these errors in terms of just how they're printed out and everything. It's very screamy. It's very red. That said, if you read through here, it's basically telling you, hey, this function doesn't exist. So if you're like me, I kind of like to just write code and then follow the errors around sometimes. So let's go write this get yesterday's close method. Okay, so down here, so we'll just say we want to get yesterday's code. We're going to get a ticker. And we're going to get a date. Okay, let's save this, and now we're going to get a new thing. Okay, so I need a comma somewhere. Where do I need a comma? Oh, I don't have an arrow. Got it. Okay, so now it's calling a function and nothing's happening. So that's kind of fine. Let's see what happens. So let's write a new URL. So we're going to say... this is actually going to be a little bit hard, I think. Maybe not too bad. We'll see what happens. So we'll say yesterday's close URL. There's going to be a lot of refactoring opportunities in here. And then I'm going to copy this thing. And we're going to paste that right before that ampersand. So you know what I'm actually going to do, so we can actually see this. There's two parts to this problem, and it's going to be apparent once we get going what's really the issue here. So let's hard code this. So, and actually, since it's Monday, this is perfect. So let's hard code this to something like 12. And then let's go ahead and copy this same logic here. Yeah, there's going to be so much refactoring. It's crazy. So we're going to say get yesterday's price, yesterday's close rather, and I'm going to go ahead and pass in the date because I know ultimately I'm going to need it, even though it's being hard coded right now. Then we have this then response blah 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 format price data. So let's save this thing. Undefined method callback. Okay, so I'm not calling anything back right now, which is fine. Let's just comment that out. Okay. Right here. Actually, let's go ahead and put a callback in there, just to see how this is going to work. Get yesterday's close price, and then what we're going to do here is just, let's see, how do I want to do this? Data. Need to close that off, and then we'll just console.log data. Callback is not defined. Yesterday's close. Oh, it's because I don't have anything being passed in. Cannot read property close of undefined. So, boy, this is a battle. Wait a second. I did that to myself. Okay. Okay, so that is the problem. So that's a problem. So if you look at this, right here I've hard-coded 13, so we're just pulling back today's data twice. So let's actually talk through what's happening here. I'm going to end up needing to make probably 1 or 2 more videos fleshing out this functionality, because it's a little bit detailed, but I'm going to go ahead and describe the problem here, and then I'm going to pick up straight away in a video after, maybe 2 videos, kind of fixing this stuff. So let's look at what we're doing though. So the first thing is get the latest price, and then we call this apply data in a callback. Then we set state to be that price, and then we say, okay, get yesterday's close. And the idea here is we're going to get yesterday's information, and then we're going to do some calculations with that data, and we're going to display it right over here. Okay, so that's the workflow. So then in get yesterday's close, we're saying, okay, get the data from this URL, and then this URL we can pass in a date right here. So what we actually need to do right here is pass in, so today's the 13th, it's Monday, so that would be 12/11/10. So we need to pass in Friday's date because that was the last day the stock market was open. It still did not like that. Maybe it was the 9th. Yeah, I don't know what the heck day was Friday. Maybe there was some problem. I don't know what the deal is. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'll look into that. But basically, you get the idea. So we definitely can't pass in the 12th because that was Sunday. The 11th would have been Saturday. 09 should be available. I don't know what happened on Friday. Oh, it was Good Friday. That's the problem. It was a bank holiday. That's probably... Let's check on that really quick. Is Good Friday a bank holiday? Okay, Good Friday is not a bank holiday. However, financial markets, that is the trick. Okay, that's why the API wasn't working when I was recording on Friday. I got myself tricked. Okay, there we go. Mystery solved. So, point is, we have to actually find a date in here for the previous day of trading. That's maybe harder than I actually even thought because I was thinking we just needed to avoid the weekends, but we need to actually account for bank holidays as well. So I'm actually going to have to do a little bit more research on that. So for now, I'm going to hard code this just for this episode. And then in the next episode, what I'm going to do is, well, I may have to hard code in the next one too because I don't know if I'm going to do it tonight since it's already 10 o'clock. In the next episode, whatever it is, we'll either be working on the date or we'll be working on actually the calculation for presenting the percent change and the dollar change. So that's going to be it for this episode. I apologize, it's kind of a winding road here, but we're getting into a little bit of a complicated situation. So this will be kind of entertaining to figure out, hopefully. I'm going to do a little research on my side and see what I can come up with, because that's a little bit more complicated than I was imagining. And that Good Friday thing definitely tripped me up, but that's good because we're building a real project here, so you need to account for that sort of thing. Okay, cool. Well, that's it for this episode. I will talk to you in the next one. If you like this and want to stay up to date, definitely subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you soon.